Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Teagues Take podcast alongside George and JT. I am IndyCar Tim, and tonight's episode's about breaking barriers. Our first guest tonight broke a barrier as the first female to coach in the NFL. Dr. Jen Welter broke that barrier as the Arizona Cardinals linebackers coach in 2015, but that was just the start. After an all-star career in women's football, she was the first woman to play running back in a men's professional football league as a member of the Texas Revolution, the Great Revolution. She also then went on to coach the team. Emma Smith never did that, by the way. She was named one of the 25 most influential women in sports by ESPNW. And if that's not enough, George, JT, she has a master's degree in sports psychology, a doctorate in psychology, and a business degree from Boston College. Boys, I present to you Dr. Jen Welter. Jen, thank you so much for joining the show.
It is great to be here surrounded by Teagues. I've got George Teague, who has been looking out for me since I don't even know how long. And Junior Teague, what's up? That's JT, right? Am I right?
I love that.
You are right.
We're all full of aliases.
Even if I'm wrong, I'm right tonight. Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works.
Well, it is definitely your night because you've been tremendous, and you're right. We were just sitting here talking before the show of trying to remember when we actually met, and it had to be around 02, 03, somewhere around those times where we first got on those camp circuits, and it's amazing to have you on today. So thank you again for spending some time away. I know you got your family that you're visiting your family now, and spend a little bit of time with us. We're definitely grateful to have you on with us. Okay.
Well, I'm visiting family, right? We have football family, and you have been that for me since, again, like I can't remember the time before. And for me, football family shows up for each other. And that's been the place and the space where I have developed some of the best relationships of my life. So you call, I'm going to be there, right? If it's possible, we're going to make it happen.
Yes.
George, why don't you tell everybody where y'all crossed paths for the first time? How do you guys know each other? Where does this go back to?
So when I got done playing with the Dallas Cowboys, there's I would say a mutual friend that started inviting me to attend different camps that helped me put on different things. His name was Shannon Murphy. And there was another gentleman by the name of Byron Williams who were always having us do different things. Byron Williams was a former player, played for the Giants, and Shannon Murphy was just a great guy that loves being around kids and loves football and loves trying to help them as much as possible. So he actually pulled me into their circle of friends, and as he continued to build camps and we would travel, we would go all over the state of Texas and even outside of the state. I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Jen Welter because little did we know we were going to be pioneers to help this young lady, kick off or help to continue with her coaching career. But man, she really exploded and took it, to a level that not even I have necessarily done. You know what I mean? So I'm super proud of her just for sticking with it and breaking a barrier, being the first female one. I knew she could coach, right? And we'll talk about that, Doc, here in a little bit, but actually being able to see her play as well. So I've witnessed her playing and actually getting tackled, as a running back. That was it. Just when you talk about strength, is one thing when you see a young woman kicking a football, but actually see them running the football in the professional ranks. Oh my gosh, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Teague Senior, since we have Junior Teague, we got Senior. It's interesting that you remember that because I think a lot of people talked about Sarah Fuller in this past year, and you'll appreciate this because a lot of people don't know this story. So one of the coaches I had coached with the Atlanta Legends was at Vandy at the time, and he kind of gave me a heads up what was going on. And I said, have you taught her how to tackle? And he said, Coach, we haven't had time. And I said, I will fly there and teach her how to tackle. Don't you put her out there if she can't tackle. And, obviously it was a squib kick that went out of bounds on the first one. And I said, don't you dare do that again. Let me come there and teach her how to tackle. He's like, Coach, it's COVID. We cannot have you come do this. And I was like, and so I had an opportunity to talk to Sarah, and I said, I just want you to know that offer always stands, right? If you get back in that situation, I want to, first of all, teach you how to dip and rip through any guy who tries to cheap shot you. Because she's a big girl, right? Like she is 6 foot, like 6'1", I think. And I was like, if I could do it on the men's team at 5'2", trust me, baby girl, I got you. I will not set you up to fail. And she was like, did you really? I kept asking them, can you please teach me how to do this? And I was like, oh, I tried. If it was not COVID, I would have been there and they couldn't have said anything about it. We would have done it in a parking lot if it had to happen.
Yes. Well, that's pretty amazing. Thank you for sharing that because I did not know that.
But, I appreciate that you were at the game when I played because, then it was the number one story in sports. But now we're a few years later, and there are some guys who don't even realize it was the same person. They're like, wait, you were the one who played and then coached in the NFL? And I'm like, yeah, it's actually the same person. It's not an alter ego. It's like both me. And that was all of the guys when I got to the Cardinals, I will tell you, they already knew everything about me before I got there. And they knew that I had played against the guys, and that was the number one thing they brought up. They're like, man, we know how serious you are because we appreciate that you got on that field. You played with the men, and they were so proud to be a part of history, but they had all checked out my game film. They knew everything about me before I walked in the door, and they called several people who knew me from my career. So I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me, hey, so-and-so gave me a call. Because I have heard that from several people. So,
well, you got to tell us more about that, right? About playing the game. How do you practice? What, for other ladies that are aspiring, to maybe do what you did. First of all, playing the game, not just coaching it, but playing it. What do you say to younger girls? I've talked to my daughter about it. She's like, man, I don't know if I could ever do that. But what does it take? What kind of mindset do you got to have to play in a men's sport like that?
Well, there's several things. So for girls, one of the things I want to point out is if you don't think tackle football is your thing, NAIA just announced this year. So they have their first season where girls can play varsity, and I guess it's women, but can play varsity flag football in college. So right now in 2021, this is the first year where you could, as a female, have an opportunity to play football and have it change the trajectory of your life and your family's life through education. And that's a game changer, right? Like I've been doing football camps across the country for girls now for 3.5 years. And I've now had some of those girls grow up into being women who are playing collegiate flag football, right? And it wasn't even possible when we started doing these camps. And so I have like Jada, who is the quarterback at St. Thomas University, who I met when we did a camp at Liberty City in Miami with Uncle Luke. And I remember those girls saying, Coach, I would have gone to college if I could just play ball. And it was not yet announced. And then now to see her at St. Thomas, and I went down there last weekend to watch their first home game and watch them win. And I was, it was full circle. So the opportunities for girls and women in football are now, because the future is being written by all of the women who are, the young girls who are playing, who are going to have the opportunity to grow up believing that they could coach in the league, right? So they get to do the same work, the same grind as the guys, because there's the same thought of, I want to get here. That I wish I had, right? Like I did what I did, believing that there could be a future. But now any girl or woman can see where the future is going. And that's a really powerful thing. Larry Foote said in an interview, he said, what I love about Jen is that now girls can dream on it. And that's what I didn't have, right? Like I turned down when Wendell Davis, right? Former Dallas Cowboy Wendell Davis, who gave me my first coaching opportunity at the pro level with the Texas Revolution, said, you have to coach my football team. I instinctively said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? I said, no, like girls don't coach football. Like I can't do that. And he said, not a lot of guys are going to give you this opportunity. You're taking this job. And I said, no. And I hung up on him. And Wendell's very direct. Wendell does not take no for an answer. So the next day, Wendell called me back and told me about myself. He said, you remember how I told you not a lot of guys were going to give you this opportunity? You were taking this job. I said, yeah. He said, good. I took it for you. You're coaching for me. And by the way, you can't quit. Otherwise, the entire narrative surrounding women coaching in men's pro football will be, we had a girl once and she quit. And I was like, okay, well, I have not seen myself as capable of stepping up to coaching men at the pro level, right? Because I was always so hard on myself as a player, right? Like, me, I was always asking people, what's something else I could do, learn, like I always felt like I had so much further to go that I wasn't necessarily at the level to be able to coach other people to get there. And that was anyone, right? Like the kids camps were easy, but you're talking about throwing me right into the coaching ranks as in pro football. And I just couldn't see it. But once you put me there, I'm certainly not quitting, because I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. So I lovingly say that Wendell drop kicked me into success, right? Because he saw it in me before I saw it in me, right? And that, thankfully, and this because you're the head coach of the team, and you guys have made big moves like we were talking about. You see something in someone before they see it in themselves, and great coaches help bring that out of other people, and that I so appreciate, because I think a lot of the times people just see the NFL and they think that's where it started. But obviously, as you know, because we've known each other forever, like the seeds were planted and the foundation was built long before that was even possible.
Yep. So what did you learn, speaking of all your coaching? And that's awesome. Wendell Davis is an amazing man.
I love him.
And I was able to play with him for a little while too. And that's sweet. But I'm curious because, when you got up to the ranks and you were playing or coaching with the Cardinals, what did you really take, or did you get any more nuggets from, the coaching staff there that you were able to bring back to your camps? What was, some of the, why don't you just give me an influential moment that you might have had while you were up with the Cardinals?
So many. Number one was the question going in was, would men in the National Football League take coaching from a woman? And what's hard when you're the first is that you don't get to be like, would they take it from Jen Welter? It's like all women, because you are the sample size of one. So you're writing the whole narrative for all of womanhood. And, I lovingly tell people, I'm like, why would it be so surprising? Most men have been coached by women their whole lives, maybe not in football, but in their lives. So if I can make them better, they'll listen. And in fact, it's a different voice in a room that many men, maybe had their woman or their mom or their grandma or their auntie as their number one person in their household. So another guy might be competition, but a woman brings a different element, right? And so every mom I met who was the number one in their sons' lives, their moms would say like, Coach Jen, I'm such a big fan. And I would be like, Mama, stop it right there. Don't you dare be a fan of mine because I am a fan of yours. Your son is amazing to me every day because of how you raised him. So thank you. And they were just like, and that was something that they weren't used to, but the guys were used to it. It was never hard for them. It was hard to understand by people on the outside. So that was one of the lessons I learned. One of the best coaching points I got came from, and it was like my first day there, my first day in the building. The players aren't even there yet. And unfortunately, he passed away recently. But Daryl Drake, who was our wide receivers coach, he called me into his office. I was there and they said, let's meet the coaches. And I mean, he's a receivers coach. First of all, he didn't have to talk to an assistant linebackers coach, but Drake said, Coach, come in. Hey, it's great to meet you. And he said, the number one thing that you bring to this team is your PhD. It's like old guys like me, we have been coaching longer than you have been alive. So there's a lot that you can learn from us on that. But when it comes to psychology and sports psychology, you have a lot to teach us. So don't lose that when you're in these meeting rooms. Make sure that you bring those relationship dynamics and that psychological insight. He said, I learned the importance of psychology from coaching Brandon Marshall. And he said, he made me a better coach. And what you bring to this team cannot be overlooked because we need more of it in the National Football League. And we don't have it in anyone but you. And I was like,
yeah,
wow. Right. Because I don't know if I would have felt confident enough to step up in some of the situations that they asked me to, right? That maybe or maybe not didn't have anything to do with my position group. If we hadn't made it a point to encourage me to bring my unique voice to every situation. And, it wasn't about being a woman or a man. It was, this degree is special. And most of the players, especially like Larry Fitzgerald, for example, Fitz used to, for anybody who doesn't know, right, the pros pro. But one of the things that caught me about Fitz is after every practice, and I would lay money on the fact that he still does it to this day, he would catch 100 extra passes on the jug machine, him on his own. But he would call me over, if I was around, and he'd say, Coach Jen, I read this in psychology, and tell me about this. And he always wanted to get better. So there he is working on his craft, which football is obviously easy for him at this point. But he wanted to extend his expertise in other ways. And he would always have a question prepared that he could learn something about psychology, the psychology of the game, and something that I could uniquely bring. And he's like, man, I so respect the fact that you have your degree. The stuff I had done in football was definitely secondary for their respect. I don't want to say secondary, that's not the right way, but it was definitely complementary to their fascination with what I could bring from a sports psychology perspective.
Man, that's good. I mean, I don't think many people understand the psychological part of the game. Man, there's so much stuff going on today, right, in the news, and I know I'm kind of going a little sideways, but you really hit me in the heart a lot because I'm seeing how guys are making decisions or not making good decisions. And so a lot of that is off the field, right, but it goes into how you play your game and what you have to do on the field. And I would say Coach gave you some dynamic advice to say, and that you got to really get into the athlete's head a little bit so he understands every little piece of it. Because a lot of us, I mean, we just want to go play. We just want to figure out how to cover somebody, what a cover 3 look like, what a cover 2 look like. And there was so much more to it when you got noise, and what happens when you get beat, and how do you really get rid of the trash, I would say, that's in your head. How do you get to the next play without getting caught up with things, that might have happened behind you? Or if that fear, how do you overcome the fear that, this is 4th and 1 and they're probably going to throw the ball my way, and how am I going to be able to make that play? So I do applaud you for that. And I know that you're pouring that into the hearts of many people, especially our youth. I'm really having a good time watching your Instagram. You guys really do need to tune into our Instagram because there's a lot of 7-on-7 football going on, both males and females. But it's great to see some of those girls mossing other girls, while they're playing the game. And I can see you. I can picture you just over there, just giving them a big fist pump, as they're doing that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about those camps a little bit, and what you do with the gridiron, the gridiron girls with 3 R's.
I say I put the GUR in gridiron, right? Right. Well, and so that's just like GUR. It was frustration. So gridiron is what they call American football in Australia. And I was the head coach of the first Australian women's national team in 2017. We fielded. I always been fascinated with Australia, so it was a dream. I get to go to Australia, be the head coach of a national team, take my offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator from the 2010 U.S. team with me, and we could have an impact on the culture and level set in Australia, right? Like they'd only been playing gridiron over there for 3 or 4 years when we got there. And they were fascinated by the game, but getting coaching was really challenging. So a lot of them were trying to teach themselves like football over YouTube. And the culture is so good for contact sports, especially for women. And, you can be a pro rugby player over there as a woman or a man, right? And so it checks so many boxes. But so gridiron then became a part of how we talked about football. And I noticed that no one had really made a national effort to do flag football camps for girls. And I specifically chose flag because most girls haven't played football at all and gotten the fundamentals. And so why not teach them in that way so there would be less people objecting? And having been at one point known as one of the best tacklers in the world, it's kind of funny. People laugh that I'm teaching flag because they're like, Welter, we wouldn't even let you play on the U.S. national team in flag because you would have caused international incidents. I'm like, I know. Don't tell them that, right? And I played rugby first, so I don't even need pads to tackle, right? So please don't do this. But it just, the girls weren't getting the opportunity to learn in a situation where they weren't at a disadvantage, right? If you look at how most co-ed camps are, and I had done a bunch of them, especially my players would be, Coach, I'm doing a camp, come out. We have a girl. And I'd be like, oh, you got one? And they'd be like, yeah, we don't know what to do. I'm like, coach her. And they're like, right. But it'd be one girl out of 200, right? That's 0.5%. And we're proud of this and we're calling it co-ed because we didn't say she wasn't allowed to come. No. But the challenge is that if the girls weren't being socialized in the same way, you mentioned your daughter earlier, Coach, and if she wasn't taken out and just having passes thrown to her in the backyard and being taught, hey, baby, throw up the diamonds, you're worth diamonds, right? On the field and off. And, how to throw a football. Then if she stepped in a co-ed situation, she was already behind. And so her confidence would suffer because everybody was ahead of her. Even if she was a baller as an athlete, she just didn't know football fundamentals, right? So then what's the national reaction that we all hear from kids? Oh, you throw like a girl. No, that's actually not a thing, right? There are a lot of dudes who don't throw a football well, right? You either throw a football the right way. Like you've been taught to hold the laces and all of these things, or you don't. So why not be intentional about creating places and spaces where girls can be taught that even in the final frontier for women in sports, with great coaching, there's nothing you can't do. And so we say it's confidence through football and teaching the girls there is no game you cannot play and no field you do not belong in or on. We've done 35 camps across the country, or over 35. We did the first girls camp with the Bears. We did the first girls camp with the Buccaneers and helped them kick off what is now their, big initiative for girls in flag. And we now have players who, I was telling you when we were offline, one of my players, Jada, who came to a camp we did with Uncle Luke that was sponsored by Adidas. They're one of my sponsors. They were the first movers into that space. And so we did a free camp, Uncle Luke, Liberty City, and a bunch of the girls. It was in November of 2019, right? And these girls balled in Miami. So Florida was the first sport to have varsity girls high school flag football. So they balled down there. And a bunch of the girls said, Coach, we would have gone to college if we could have played football. And I just remember my heart being like, oh, I know, right? Because I'm from Florida. I'm from just up the road. I know. And now Jada is the quarterback of St. Thomas University because the NAIA has its very first varsity girls collegiate flag football season, which means now girls, just like boys, can dream of playing college football and changing the trajectory of their life and their family's life and their education through football. And so to me, it's this is why it's so important. All of these girls deserve the opportunity to play. And just like the boys deserve the opportunity to be the best. And we've had girls go on to, then after this first camp, go on to co-ed camps because they know they're not behind. And that's really what we wanted to create a space, is to give them this great football experience so that they could fall in love with the game just like boys do.
Jen, real quick to wrap things up here with you. We appreciate you coming on with us. Obviously, it's been a great first half of the show. Of course, when you joined the Arizona Cardinals in 2015, Bruce Arians was the head coach there. Of course, now in Tampa Bay and just coming off of a Super Bowl win. Any thoughts on Bruce Arians finally winning a Super Bowl in his coaching career?
Well, first of all, it is not finally. He was the offensive coordinator when the Steelers won their Super Bowl. So let's go with that. And I'm just going to say it's, maybe or maybe not a coincidence that they haven't done it since then. I mean, I'm just, I all love to Bruce Arians. He is a heck of a coach, known as a player's coach, and one who really is about finding talent where talent lies. Look at his coaching staff right now. He always said when he got a head job, if you don't know this, he was going to retire after the Steelers didn't keep him. He was out of the game. And Chuck Pagano called him back and said, let's go one more. And he got his first opportunity to be a head coach when Pagano got cancer. And he ended up winning Coach of the Year that year, and then became the head coach of the Cardinals. Retired after the Cardinals, almost got there, right? Lost in semifinals, basically. And then now got the situation in Tampa. And he's a guy, when he gets to do it his way, it's going to be done well. And one thing that makes him brilliant, he knows where talent is. Got Byron Leftwich, right? You got Goody in there. You got TBD, which is everybody talks about it, TB12. No. That Super Bowl was won with TBD, meaning Todd Bowles defense. So what I love about him is that he is intentional about using his position of power to create great teams, and he's not afraid to shake things up, right? Like, he told me when he thought about bringing me in that when he was a college coach, one of the best coaches he was ever around was at Hines College. It was a receivers coach, and her name was Dot Murphy. And he said the fact that it hasn't changed in all of this time, that it's really gotten no better, and that there were no more opportunities for women in coaching, like, that's not right. And he said, I don't know yet if I can make this happen, right? It's gonna shake things up. I have to get a lot of yeses, and I don't even know if I can do it. As a head coach in the National Football League, he didn't know if he could do it. But he said, I feel like this is the right team. We already have a diverse staff. He's always built his staffs based on diversity in age, race, and obviously now gender, right? But he said, and we have high character guys. So it's the right team, the right guys. I have no doubt that you're the right woman. He said, just trust me. I want you to know it's in my heart to try. And winning the Super Bowl this year, doing it the right way with the most diverse staff and the history of winning a Super Bowl, if you don't look at that and question why it's not more pervasive, then I don't know what you're seeing or what you're doing, right? Diversity is always a strength. And Bruce is known as being a player's coach. Before he brought me in, and this was one of the things I didn't learn actually until I wrote my book. And I interviewed him because I wanted to really understand, right? Like, how it was so successful, because there were so many people that thought it would, epically fail, right? Like, oh, the guys will hate it, big flop, she's out of there, whatever. And he said, well, the first thing I did was talk to the leaders in my locker room. And those guys were really excited to have an opportunity to be a part of the history of the NFL and to create change. And so he had buy-in from the leaders of his locker room to say that, yes, we want to do this. We want to, create change and have the first female coach on our staff. And when they said that, he said, I knew it would be successful, and I brought it up the chain of command, right? He said, but if the guys didn't want it, it would never, or it would have been really hard to make it work. But because they wanted it and because they were supportive, I had not one doubt, having met you and known your background, that we could make it successful in Arizona and set the standard in the National Football League.
Very nice. Thank you so much for the time, Dr. Jen Welter. Look her up on Instagram at Welter47. And I don't remember your Twitter handle. What's your Twitter handle there for everybody to find you over there?
At JWelter47.
Well, there you go. I should have been able to remember that.
Look, it's the athlete code, okay? Like, I'm just going to break it down. Last name, football number.
There
and you may have to add a first initial. But if you do that for all the athletes in the league, you'll probably have, like 75, 80% guys?
Probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true. We appreciate you so much for popping on, Dr. Welter, and it's been a pleasure and an inspiration.
Anytime. This is a family affair. Anytime, Teague calls or Junior Teague calls, I'm going to be there. This family is what we do.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. We look forward to it. Thank you again. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Okay.
You got it. And I mean that. I'm coming out to the high school team. When I'm there and you have practice, we're going to make that happen because, I got you. I can't stay away from the football field.
Come on. I'll put you right on over there with the linebackers. It's going to be on.
Linebackers or D-line. I got you.
Okay.
Very good. We're going to take a quick break, George. When we come back, we have Monica Thomas is in the green room here waiting for us. The owner of the Underground Recruit, and she's going to talk to us about some college football recruiting and some things such as that. Before that, we've got to pay some bills. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back after this.
ProfoundSites.com for your personal and commercial needs. Websites built, repaired, secured, maintained, and found. Brent Thomas and ProfoundSites.com provide e-commerce development, website development, online marketing, web, mobile, and e-commerce consulting. With over 10 years experience, Profound Sites is responsible for creating GeorgeTeague.com, where you can hear Teague's Take with George Teague every week. Brent Thomas and Profound Sites can take you through the entire pain-free process of building your new website. From initial discussion to planning, design, to coding, and making your site live and discoverable on the internet. Contact Brent Thomas at ProfoundSites.com or email him at brent@ProfoundSites.com.
Hey, sports and sports memorabilia fans, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about our new friend Chris Gordon over at the Cowboy House, cowboyhousesports.com on the web. Now, Chris is super passionate about all sports, and that's why the Cowboy House is so much more than just a Dallas Cowboys sports memorabilia store. He's got unique game-used memorabilia and rare, hard-to-find autographs for teams across the globe. Everything from the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, golf, UFC, soccer, Olympics, even from Hollywood and the political sector. And his store isn't just a fancy mall store. It's more of a man cave that he likes to share with his friends and customers. Come on into the store at 209 South Shady Shores Drive, Suite 200 in Lake Dallas, and you can walk on the Texas Stadium end zone turf. You can sit in a chair from Yankee Stadium or Texas Rangers Globe Life Park. Check out hundreds of autographed jerseys from hundreds of teams. Check out thousands of photos signed with certificates of authenticity. He's also got custom framing for all of your sports memorabilia items. Chris Gordon over at cowboyhousesports.com. 214-551-5978. Thank you, Cowboy House.
Need a one-stop shop for Cowboys news happening over at the Star in Frisco? Click on over to cowboyssi.com, featuring Mike Fisher with 30 years experience covering America's team. It's the most popular of all Sports Illustrated sites and home to the Cowboys Blitzcast podcast. Cowboyssi.com is the place to get inside your Cowboys. With such a talented team of writers and reporters over there, you'll always know the latest about personnel and roster moves, salary cap issues, and draft class status. Click on over to cowboyssi.com and get the inside scoop on America's team.
3R Sports Graphics. Hello, everybody. You've probably seen the graphics that are out on social media every week that announce the guest for Teague's Take for that week, as well as their credentials listed there on the graphic as well. Those come from our good friend Tyler Sanders over at 3R Sports Graphics. Now, he only works for schools, so we need to mention that. Some of his proud schools are Liberty Christian, Parish Episcopal, Legacy Christian, and Fort Worth Christian. These are custom graphics for your school's athletic department. Hire Tyler Sanders and 3R Sports Graphics, and you will work one-on-one with a graphic designer. You will get final score graphics the night of the game, unlimited graphics with a 1-year contract, and you can fulfill the sports information director role of a school, but for a fraction of the cost. And he will handle this for you every week. He puts it out on social media for you as well. He handles that. Give Tyler Sanders a call with 3R Sports Graphics, 713-933-9767, or you can shoot him an email, tsanders2405@gmail.com. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics, on Twitter at 3R Sports and the number 1. And check out his Twitter feed. He's got all of the examples. You can scroll through his feed and look at all of the graphics as he's done for everybody. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics. Give him a call now. Thank you, Tyler. Welcome back on into Teague's Take podcast. I am still Tim, and I'm still with George and JT. We want to thank Dr. Jen Welter for popping on, spending a few minutes with us, talking about things that she has done and the inspiration that she truly is. Speaking of breaking barriers and inspirations, we'd like to welcome in our next guest on the show. We have here Monica Thomas, and Monica is the owner of the Underground Recruit. And George had her on as a groundbreaker, as a barrier breaker. George, would you like to introduce Monica a little bit more?
Yeah, first I want to say that Monica, thank you for coming on, because she was supposed to be on last week, but because of the big storm and our internet going in and out every 20 minutes or whatever it was, we had to push your back. So
Hard to
thank
do a
you.
show with no electricity. I've tried. It's not very quality. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah,
You know, it's all about safety first. Safety first.
that's right. That's right. But I've had the opportunity to be friends. I would say with her and her family for some years as well. When I was coaching back at the Shelton School, I believe is when we
Yes,
actually
that
met.
was first time.
And as I was learning as a coach, more and more about how to help kids get recruited and looked at, our paths crossed, and she and her husband began to tell me about things that they could do, and they really fit my mold, because as I was looking at different recruiting services that I was trying to use to help my guys out, above and beyond what I was doing. But I quickly learned about Monica was the heart that they have for the kids, and it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about anything other than making sure kids can get to college and get a scholarship and play football if they wanted to, and that drove me more than just wanting to just have this relationship. But as far as a recruiting service, I knew this is the kind of person I want to be associated with. So lo and behold, we've now started doing all kind of things together, Tim. Even when I was telling you, me and JT were coaching in the blue gray games together and things. They're there and they're still helping kids, and it's amazing at what they do. So while we're talking about what she's able to do and how she's progressed the company along, and it's really, really interesting to me when we start talking about the difference between for-profit and nonprofit recruiting services. Hopefully we'll be able to hit on that a little bit. I need for all y'all to keep in mind that it's truly about just getting kids opportunities. It's very similar to what Dr. Welter was saying, the mindset and giving them the opportunity. So Monica, thank you for being here tonight with us and staying up a little bit later with the show.
Strange hours.
Hey, George, before we get into the meat of all of this, Monica, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
There, I see behind you on the wall an LBJ freeway road sign.
Yes, sir.
I would like, this is funny because I also had an LBJ road sign hanging on my office wall up until about 4 years ago. I would like to know the story of yours and where you got that.
My goodness, a huge metal sign. When we first moved to Texas, the neighbor across the street was actually vacating their home. I don't know if it was by choice, happened to be vacating. Well, they had a huge collection in their garage, and so a lot of them they could not take. So one day they were there, next day they weren't, and there was things. I took my pick, and I have been. That one is one of my huge favorites. I also have a very huge Jimmy John's menu sign, and that is like my claim to fame. So yes, every time I take that in the back, I think I get more questions about the signs than I do about anything I'm saying.
Well, I've come to realize since about the age of 16, when I first started, we'll call it collecting because I'm not going to use the word stealing. We'll call it collecting.
Exactly.
Signs. Everybody that has one has a story. So I just wanted to ask. I had to know for sure.
See,
so
it's a small community. Thank you.
Well, Tim, you got to tell us about your story. She told yours.
Right, that is sharing is caring.
And Tim, you're right. It's not stealing. It's just relocating.
It's
There you go. Recycling. See, we are trying to keep things together on the earth.
Let's say that I lived in a very small community. Well, it was the colony, but in the early 80s, it was a very small community, and nothing like it is now. And let's just say there was a time of about 9 months where many road signs went missing from the side of the road, and they could have all been found in my bedroom. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, it was quite a collection. I also had a shopping cart. I had a street side barricade with the flashing yellow light.
Now I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I would do that though.
Yeah, it was quite my bedroom at the age of 15 till I moved out. It was quite a scene.
Oh my gosh, that's classic.
Let's talk about something important.
Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead, coach.
So yeah, I want to be able to talk to you about this, and the recruit. So how did you really go down this avenue? What was pulling at you to say, hey man, I need to help these young ones get into college? How'd you get started?
I'm really just truly a grassroots person. I've done everything from being a team mom to just a driver to everything. And as parents know, once you're a sports parent, you're always a sports parent. As my own process, I just was really surprised at how much information was not getting to parents and to the athletes, and where the light on how are you supposed to get your education paid for? That the priority is go you the way to get a paid education be the priority, but they don't tell you all the little steps that it's going to take for you to get there. Everybody wants to go D1. Everybody feels like there's only one way to do things, and we, even with the talent of my own son, there was still so many different avenues that it took to get to where he will be graduating at the end of this month, thank goodness. um, and so with that it's print for it. And as we were starting to navigate through his process, there were other parents that also were struggling and wanted more information. There's only so much, honestly, your coach can do. Their job is their job first, and parents don't always know that you have a role, you have a job in this, and the athlete has a job in this. And so we just evolved from there, began to learn, started connecting with college coaches, started collecting with more high school coaches. Said, you know what? Until things get to a point where we're no longer needed, then we need to start a business and get going. And that's where we've taken it since then. It's just, I'm so surprised at how watching its evolution from and how many more avenues have been added to the process. It's kind of crazy. So we're still needed. So we're still here.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And one of the things you hit on, Tim, I want to ask you about this because as a head coach, I'm not. I promise you, I'm not trying to start anything, but I think it's just real.
Uh-oh.
And no, because we need to know, right? Because as head coach, right, and she said it, right, that there's so much that we can do. We
Yeah.
can call, we can send film, speak good on their behalf, coach them up, all those kind of things. But what is it? Because I think parents, and they even tell me, hey, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do or what. So talk to us a little bit about that when it comes to recruiting. How
Okay.
involved do the parents need to be? What is it that they can do that maybe the coach can't do?
Okay.
Give them a little bit of advice.
Well, a lot of times, what we clients is if you, as
Did
if
we
you
lose?
were like looking for your own job, creating a resume, doing all the steps that you would do to actually secure a job, at least makes a little bit more sense. What we tell parents is that you are the PR and your athlete is the product. So it is your job as the that you understand life a little bit more. It's up to you to guide them. Now you're not gonna them as parents aren't gonna know everything, and you don't have to, but you definitely more involved. I think they do, because a lot of times when we're at like when we're doing blue gray and we're talking to parents, a lot of them are just like, well, we didn't know we were supposed to do this. How are we supposed? Who Nobody told us this, and so there's still a lot of the message that's not getting out there. So we're hoping to, but we try to get as many as possible, different avenues. But most of the time, for parents, that it is your make sure that they're focusing in on health, making sure that the important and that they're reinforcing it. And with academics, because I know that could always be that's always a huge subject. It's not just saying get good grades, because as a kid, what does that mean? What does that equate to? Nobody really, they don't. It's like, okay, I hear you saying it, and then they hear the Charlie Brown want 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 want. They're not really tuned into not really tuned into that. So it's like, okay, what does get good grades if you don't stay eligible, okay, now that makes sense. Okay, all right. If I can't, if I want to be to be on the NC2A side, and you want to academically have the ability to hit the, you have to have a minimum of a 2.5 core GPA, not a cumulative, not what you see on the transcript, unless you're going NAIA core. So you need to understand the academics are, and to know that getting into school athletically is different than getting into school academically. A lot of times parents will try to apply the rules of getting in academically. November, you should know November of your senior year, you should know what school you want to go to. You should be applying. You should go. Athletics, you may not get that off, or July. You may have committed in your junior year, and then something changed. They find faster, pull your arm, anything yet. You're on a different path, and you have to be ready. There's a lot there you can create it. It's just give, and then they probably expected that they had to communicating regularly, making sure that the athlete is making decisions for them on not what your parents want to do. What are your dreams? What is your checklist of things that you want to do? Do you have an idea of what kind of degree you want to get? How do you want to graduate early? We've had some of our clients that were amazing and have graduated in 3 years because of their academics and want to go on. Are you really, or are you wanting to just to get the education and then go on to do something else? You need to have the holistic conversations other than just going through the motions of, okay, we just need to prepare for the next year and prepare for the next year, because it will end sooner or later, and be as ready as you think.
Okay. So I'm really curious about this because I do get to deal with a lot of, I'm not going to say services. It's just the world of recruiting has changed a lot, right? So there are companies like the NSCA, you got an underground recruit, you
Right.
got Exos or other organizations, and you got trainers who also may be helping with recruiting or whatnot. So how do first of all, what do parents need to know about your company that may be different than the rest? But can you kind of sum up some differences between that? Are they all good? Do you need to do a little bit of everything, or I don't know. It just seems to get confusing when people tell me, "Well, my trainer's calling such and such," but I also hired this other company, and it just seems like it can get overwhelming. So
Very,
help us.
very much so. What I will say is it, depending on the service, one, you do have to look at your budget to find out, okay, how much can you spend in the process? You are going to have to invest, and you're going to have to sacrifice. Sometimes when I'm talking to family, my own experience, my son did not get a class ring. He didn't get, we had to pay for training. He did not get, his Letterman jacket was very slim because we needed to make game day visits and do some other things that required at next level. So one, they need to sacrifice. You have to know how much, have the ability to spend and invest, and then you're going to have to physically put in the time on all for you. Then that's your trainer. Good trainers, your trainers can be huge resources. I've met some really amazing ones that I still work with to this day, do so much above and beyond, um, even more than what they're ever paid for, because they understand the 360 of how, if I'm training you to next level, get to that next level, then that is a kudos for them as well. So I mean, it's a business relationship, both sides. If if you have a trainer, and I do, and that's definitely one thing I definitely want to make sure I back up, and that your school can. I know a lot of times there is a big push or pull trainers to be involved outside of athletic programs, but there really is only so much I believe that can be done on the field. And if you're needing extra reps, you're needing that extra body works, how to recover your muscles, how do you do it for yourself? Trainers really are an invaluable resource if you get the right one. So investing in a trainer can do that twofold. And if I've always believed in that, if you have you have your strength and conditioning, you have your position. They work. There a lot of times there are trainers that combine them, but if you can find ones that can do specialty, then it's going to be that ahead of the curve. And again, they are resources. College, the sports community is very small, and everybody is a 6-degree separation from talking. Played against somebody, they knew somebody, or they've just met somebody. So so that they are one good resource. Two for have a smaller budget. The NCSAs, I will always say that NCSA still to this day does have one of the best presence when it if that is the route that they choose to go, they need to make sure that they are doing at the minimum, and understand that, again, as a business, they still have to manage that. You are renting internet space when it comes to their connection of database, but you still have to do the work. You still have to put the film up. You still have to make sure your profile is up to date. You still have to make sure all of your stats are there. So if you're doing all of that work, then you have to make sure that what you're paying them for equals the amount of work that is going to be put in. With services like, we are what we would consider a boutique service, that we are a small company that has a lot of connections and a lot of people that we work with directly. We do not want we want to make sure that we take the athlete to the coach versus waiting for coaches to come to that athlete and in hopes that some. So we're and the difference with us is because we are sports fans, of how much it's going to cost for you to get cleats, how much it's going to cost for you to pay Gatorade, how much all of those things cost budget. So we stay affordable, so that we know that you're going to have to spend money on summer camps. We know you're going to have to commercial camps and college camps, and which ones you need to go to, and how much you're going to need to spend in the summertime versus how much in season and how much off season. Those things. So we take a different approach in that we have actually been through it from A to Z. And so our experience is different. So it depends on what people are looking for. There are some people that just want to pay somebody to deal with it. They just want to get a scholarship. People that need somebody to call at midnight and say, hey, I understand this. I heard this. Does this make sense? If they need some, my coach said, if I don't have a scholarship by July of my going into my senior year, then I'm not going anywhere, which is not true, by the way. So many different levels to it that our niche is actually informing families, making sure that they stay interactive and stay engaged in their process, because they have to make the decision ultimately what works for their family. We can make sure we connect them with as many coaches as we possibly can, get them in the direction in what works, and then the coaches will decide based on their what their talent is, and then from there, then to make sure that once they're there, not only that they get to that next level, but they stay there, to make sure that once you get that mean, if you have to train the transfer portal is hot, right? It is really,
Too
especially with
hot.
this pandemic, and that's a whole nother show. But and it's really leaving a lot of out of seniors' hands right now. And if families don't stay aware and engaged in the process.
So Tim, I don't know if you have the graphic, but as we
Yep.
come to in a little bit of time that we have left with her, Monica, we want to kind of talk about some of the myths with recruiting, and maybe have you clarify and talk us through some of these up once he gets it up, because we were on with Tom Lemon and Jason Howell and
Yes,
some
excellent.
Greg Powers, and we just started asking people about what are some of the myths out there, because you hear a lot of different things,
Yeah.
and you guys do a great
Let me
job
find it.
of.
I'm looking for it. I thought I had it loaded up on your page, but I don't. So let me find it.
Okay, I know they do a lot of that. Your company does a lot of blogging and sending out information via social media about a lot of the myths, and I would like for you to hit on some of those. So while he's looking, if you can kind of give us a rundown, 4 or 5 of
At,
those, that'd be great.
at bottom and work up. So on my top 5 list, that college coaches don't talk to each other. This was actually we actually experienced as sports parents and kind of blew me away out that
That,
area. I'm
there's
sorry. Go ahead.
there's people that believe that college coaches don't communicate with each other.
They Parents really have no idea of what goes on behind the scenes. A lot of times when they're thinking that college, um, when they're connected, they do believe that it's kind of an exclusive relationship between them and the college coach, or and and athletes as well. And they just that the internet really isn't the internet. If a college coach starts talking to me, I have made it and I have arrived. Well, no, you may have stepped on the. That doesn't mean you walked in the door. So they really don't understand how close of a community the sports community is. And so one of the things that we were really blown away with was our first year of being professional at recruiting. The DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area is really a truly hotbed for recruiters, and they know that they can hit a lot of schools in a short amount of time. And we the first year we found out that a lot of the college coaches that we're thinking that are rivals, they're all in the all have they're all at the same. They hit the schools that they want to hit. They all meet up, in maybe the bar afterwards, and kids they compare notes. They're not telling anybody this, but so if a kid that thought that okay, if they're showing out or if their social media isn't up to par, it has some kind of crazy things going on. Don't think that a college coach, if that kid isn't working for program, isn't going to tell that to another college coach. And a lot of families really don't know and understand that they all talk, and that if a high school coach is giving a bad report to one college coach on a recruiting visit, don't think that that may not be traveling through the hotel at that night about, okay, well, did you hear legit? And the other college, well, I heard. And I will give a quick example. It was as a parent, I had when my son there was a hot running back that he was top. He was getting one had already committed to was doing big things. We found out, years later that you had actually the high school coach, and the high school coach told him, "Don't worry, no, don't worry about it. Don't waste your worth it." And they pulled his offer, and then that kid was basically blackballed from um, going forward really did change things, and that was really an eye opener because I think mine was a junior, so this was a senior somewhere, and that news traveled just that quickly, and that was it. Just for athletes and that reports is watching you, they are, and they're reporting out onto you, and whether you think that they're not talking to other coaches, they are just in passing. So you need to make sure that you keep everything together from your academics, whether you're coachable, all of those things. You need to make sure that those things are on point, because if they're not. So with number 4, it's like one of the things that a lot of families are concerned about is that, okay, if my kid isn't going D1, then they can't get a full, and that is not always the case. Again, athletics is to make sure that you get as much of your education as paid for, so you are not starting your adult life in debt. So with D2, if you are getting interest from D2's difference between a D1, a D2 is it comes to why they are labeled that they are labeled is because of count, how many students. So it does not mean that you're going to get a lesser education at a D2 school. And if they have what you're looking for, then a lot of families don't know that they can negotiate to try to make sure that they can get a full ride. A lot of that may mean if you're a multi-sport athlete, if you play football and track, find out if the track team or for athletes that have your numbers or have what you're bringing to the table, and see if you can parlay scholarships that will then ultimately get your education paid for. You can look for work study. You can look at with that. If I know we've had a situation where an athlete, if they may be looking for an, if they are, then they are potentially asking you to take 2 spots. If so, is there more than, see if coach, and do it respectfully, but is that college coach willing to up your monies because you are taking 2 spots, if that is an option. So, but you have the ability to negotiate more than you think when it comes to, because just like they're interviewing you, you can also interview them to find out what the potential is and money's paid for as possible. And then also look at getting academic to, and as long as that scholarship isn't coming out of the same pool of money that your football scholarship is coming out of, they will allow you to do multiple scholarships. So there's lots of different ways to be able to make that happen, to get your education paid for, and then start early at a football program at D2. So we're looking at number 3. Number 3 is college programs don't over offer. It's interesting, and some point. I'm sorry.
Monica, I need you to go through 1 through 3 pretty quick.
Okay.
We're gonna have to get to a break.
Keep going. Okay, I got you. So a lot of times people aren't sure with college programs. They do over offer because they are not sure what kids they are going to get. So they have to make sure that they have a backup to the backup to the backup. So just know that if you heard from a school and they were hot and heavy, that they may have over offered and they may be.
It's just like airlines, right? Where
Exactly.
they oversell the plane because they don't know who's going to make it, who's going to be late, who can't.
They overbook.
There it is. Very much so.
Somebody shows up and gets locked out.
Exactly. That all butts are in seat. So for number 2, we're looking at progress towards a degree doesn't matter. This one is huge because, again, a lot of times when kids go to school and they feel like they have the talent to go professional, they kind of sideswipe this as I'm just going to take the classes that I need to stay eligible, but you still have to make progress towards a degree. If you do not make progress towards a degree, that not eligible, and they can actually make you sit the bench. So do understand that one is a big one. And if people have questions on that one, because that one, once you get there, then you can ask us on that, because it's a long. Last one is a full ride is truly a full ride. This one is mind-blowing situation, because if people are getting D1 or D1 AA offers, it's a 4-year ride. It is the potential for 1 year. Again, it's a business. If you are not, if they have a transfer, they do not have scholarship. So folks just need to understand that. Now, so that school have the ability to do, just have to sign one. Haven't had any cases just yet where that has happened. Just families need to and do your.
All right, that lag's getting a little bad.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, and so those are actually my times to the ones that need to be aware of. Do your work and involve their kids in the information that they find out from this. And you can definitely, if you have questions, something didn't make sense, because that's what we're here for.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's good for the parents, like you said. I think what I'm taking from all of this, it's good for the parents to have a resource like this, because, I mean, I one of my kids, like, it's a long shot. One of my kids never being recruited for anything on this planet other than playing Minecraft. Then I wouldn't even know where to go. I wouldn't know what questions to ask. I wouldn't know what to pay attention to. I wouldn't, even less than probably them. I wouldn't know anything. So it's great to have a resource.
Yes, and that's really what we work hard to find out, because the rules are always changing. And again, situations will come up where you thought you had a plan in place, and then it may shift 5 times. And if you need basically there to say, okay, this is what happened, they pulled my scholarship, what do we do now? That's what my service is here for. If you need to say, we don't know where to start, and we're a senior, and it's December, it's January, it's February, is it too late? All the time, it's not too late. You're behind the 8 ball, but there are ways to get the job done, and that's what we're here for. So we're here to give a voice to all of those you needed answers to.
Well, thank you. You guys make sure you guys look her up on Twitter and Instagram as well. So on Twitter, she's Mo88 Underground. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
Instagram, she's Mo88 Underground. What do
That
you
is
call that?
correct.
Yeah. So
There it is.
Underscore.
underscore. That's it.
Right.
Underscore.
The underscore. You're right.
So you guys make sure you guys get with her and check her out, follow her out. She sends out a lot of great information all the time about tips and rules and all the things that, hey man, I'm having to stay on top of it too. I ain't told her. I'll be peeping her out, because I'd be needing to know all the secrets as a coach as well. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Especially now they pushed the recruiting date back again and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
so, but listen, we thank you for your time, for coming on with us. I know we could do this again as well. We'll have to do some other special episodes on recruiting.
I will.
So
Thank you guys for
get this. Yes. Okay. Well, I do thank you again. I'm sure I'll see you on the circuit here pretty soon at some camp, some clinic, something.
yes,
Definitely see it
sir.
on social media probably before the night's out. So thank you again, though, for your time. I think Tim's going to take us to another break.
Got to pay some bills, George. We all got bills. We got to pay the bills. Help us pay the bills. We appreciate Monica. We appreciate Dr. Welter coming on with us. True sources of inspiration in the sports world. Breaking ground, breaking barriers. Thank you so much for you guys for popping on. We're going to take a quick break, and George and JT and I are going to come back and talk about, God, does anybody really want to talk about Dak Prescott and his contract? Well, you know what? I got news for you. People do, and we're going to. We'll be back right after this.
Increase time inside your home, noticing all the little things needing attention? Let Repair Resource be your one trusted contractor to tackle all of your home repair needs. They do it all: electrical, plumbing, drywall, painting, and flooring of all types. They can even handle your exterior needs, like fencing, patio covers, concrete pads, and decking. No job too big or small. Repair Resource does it all. Call them at 972-415-1198 or visit them online at www.repair-resource.com.
Hey, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, Texas. It's North Dallas's premier sports bar and grill located at 1616 West Hebron Parkway. It's 16 minutes from just about anywhere in the DFW Metroplex. With all of the live action on dozens of TVs and the big screen, it's the place to hang out and watch the return of sports with all your friends. Friday and Saturday nights, you'll find the best live music in DFW right there at the Maverick Bar. And of course, on Thursday nights at 6 p.m., you'll find Teague's Take broadcasting live with Alabama and Cowboys legend George Teague. Come hang out and be part of the show. Check out the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, 972-492-7500, or on the web at themaverickbar.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is still Teague's Take alongside George and JT. I'm still IndyCar Tim. And man, George, what a great show that we've had. Dr. Jen Welter, don't call her Jen Welches for sure, with the apostrophe S.
So what was the other one she didn't like?
It was Walker or something. So we had the whole conversation, pulling back the curtain a little bit before we went on the air, about how people misspell her name, mispronounce her name, and aliases, and why she's Jen and not Jennifer, all sorts of things like that. And of course, we want to say thank you to Monica for popping on as well to talk about the Underground Recruit. Her website is over at theundergroundrecruit.wordpress.com. Go check her out. If you know any Division I, Division II coaches, let them know about her site and let them know about her services, because man, it's groundbreaking, and it's amazing, and it's necessary, and we appreciate her popping on with us for sure. So George, you said that you wanted to talk about it pains me almost to speak this out of my mouth right now. Dak Prescott, his contract, should he be paid in the top, what you said, top 5 next year, right?
5. He's not. Yeah, he's not quite there, I believe.
Okay, no. Okay, I got news for you.
Mm-hmm.
If he signs that tender for the franchise tag, he will be, according to my calculations and what I have for 2021 contract, he will be
trying to calculate.
He will be number 3 on the list of the highest paid quarterbacks for 2021.
You see, that's why he's really good at math, JT, because I'm being funny here, but I'm being serious, because when you get tender like that, you have to take the average of the top 5 guys, Timmy.
Right.
So yeah, he's gonna go.
Yeah, that's how averages work.
Math is hard. Okay? Texas A&M does not have a math program. I'm just letting you know right now.
But I guess what we're trying to say is, he worth it? Is he top 5? He's supposed to be the number 3 quarterback in salary.
Well, I think this is a very easy question to answer.
All right, I'm listening.
Because the logic that follows is very easy and straightforward. There's 3 options. One of which I think we can all agree is bad, is to just let him walk. So if you don't agree with letting him walk, you either have to bring him his money, which would make him a top 5 paid quarterback, or you franchise tag him, which we just discussed will be a top 3 contract. So no matter how you slice it, he's getting paid as a top 5 quarterback.
So why are we taking so long though then? I mean, they already gave him $32 million, $33 million this past year. He's going to go into the top 5 now. That'll put him 2 years into what he wanted of his 4 years. So, I mean, it just seems like we're.
Well, I thought my understanding was it was never about the money.
It's about the term.
It was about the term, and Dak was doing what Dak should have been doing, which he knew that the TV deal was going to be up in 4 years. And he said, well, I'll sign my 4 years locked in now, and then my contract will be up, cap raises, and y'all can pay me some more money. And the Cowboys are like, nah, let's try to get you into the next cap so we don't have to do that. And Dak was like, nah, I'll just take these 1 year deals then and bet on himself. The Cowboys paid for it. And I think now he might want 3 years. Like, I don't know that the situation has changed. I think he still might just want to be out of a contract when the cap is supposed to
get another one. Yeah, so he can get another one.
So first of all, we keep, and it's not just you, JT, it's anybody that has this conversation. We keep saying Dak. Dak wants, Dak said, Dak this. Okay, we all know it's not Dak negotiating directly with Jerry and Steven. It's his agent. All right, Todd France, who is no longer with CAA now. And apparently that was a huge story when he broke away from CAA, but now everyone's forgotten about it and it's irrelevant. So I still don't know what that meant when he broke away from that. He is rolling all of his dice on this next Dak Prescott contract as an agent to make his bank for the next 20 years. All right, that's what he's hoping for with this Dak Prescott contract. So he, maybe even more so than Dak, is going to be holding out for as much as possible. But as an agent, he should also be holding out for as long as possible, which is apparently not in the best interest of Dak because of the aforementioned TV contract, right? I mean, Dak wants to go sooner, quicker. Normally, when you have contract negotiations, it's the athlete that wants to go longer because he wants that promise of prosperity, that insurance, that contract. So he knows what he's getting 4, 5, 6 years down the road. And then you have the team that's wanting to go shorter because they don't want to have to commit. In this situation now, it's the exact opposite because of that stupid TV contract that we're coming up with that's going to probably double or triple the salary cap in the NFL. And it's going to be massive. It's going to be huge, and rightfully so. But I still think this is more Dak Prescott's agent than it is Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott wants to play. I think Dak Prescott would have signed a 4-year deal. I think it's Todd France saying, nah, I got this, bruh. Chill. Let's do this. Let me handle this. It's what I do for a living. In the meantime, Dak just wants to play football. You know, all this crap coming out from his brothers about how Dak's unhappy with the cat. You know what? That's all social media garbage. I don't put any stock into any of that. But the bottom line is Dak is a top 10 quarterback. Stats, wins, put him up against any of the other starting quarterbacks. For instance, all right, here's your top 10 paid quarterbacks coming into 2021. All right, number 10, Ryan Tannehill at $29.5 million. Is Dak Prescott better than Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Matt Ryan, number 9, $30 million. Is he better than Matt Ryan?
Yep.
Carson Wentz, $32 million.
Yep.
Better. Kirk Cousins, $33 million. God, the Vikings have to be hating that right now. Here you go. Aaron Rodgers, $33.5 million. Is he better than Aaron Rodgers? By the way, Jared Goff also $33.5 million.
He's better than Jared Goff.
Okay, probably not Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't even say that. Ben Roethlisberger, $34 million.
He's better than Ben right now.
I agree. Russell Wilson, $35 million.
I think he's up there.
He'll be your third highest paid quarterback. And these are excluding Dak's franchise tag. Okay, Russell Wilson at number 3 at 35. So when Dak signs a tag for $37.7 million, he will be your third highest paid quarterback behind Deshaun Watson at $39 million, wherever he's playing. Nobody knows right now. Is he better than Deshaun Watson?
Probably.
There's an argument to be made. All right.
Yep.
Number 1, of course, at $45 million, Patrick Mahomes. Is he better than Patrick Mahomes?
I ain't gonna say all that.
No, he's not better than Patrick Mahomes. All right. An argument can be made for Deshaun Watson. An argument can be made for even Russell Wilson. So there's your top, but we said no to Ben, no to Jared. He's better.
He's
better than Jared, not Rodgers, and then Cousins, Wentz, Ryan. He's better than all those guys in our collective minds. So, George, that should answer your question right there. Yes, he deserves to be paid in the top 5. If it's on the franchise tag, fine. If it is a long-term commitment, even better. But yes, top 5 money anywhere down the road for the next 5-6 years.
Yes, and I'm not saying I disagree. It just I keep hearing so much talk about this, and of course we got either it's the pay Dak group or the and I think he does have the leverage. I'm hearing a lot about that because he does. I mean, if
He has all the leverage, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then you go in the next year, then he's going to be he's going to bring the next year. Anyway, I always worry about the psyche of the player. And I know you said that he wants to play and all that, but there's still something about when ownership or you're talking to your agent and they're not wanting to pay you and you got to go in and you got to play one more year with this 1-year deal. I mean, I had a transition tag on mine at one point, so I wasn't I don't know if they even still do that.
They do.
Anymore.
Yeah, they still have the transition tag.
Yeah, so I had the first and third instead of 2 first, whatever, put on me or whatever, and it ended up getting traded anyway.
Who did that? The Cowboys didn't do that to you, did they?
No, I was at the last part of my Green Bay stint.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
So it didn't matter, right? The way it all circumstance worked out. But anyway, neither here nor there. The point is, there's still this feeling that you have as a player that now you still got to go back in that building and in that office, and you got to look at these owners, or the people that's handling your money in their face every single day, and you got to go play. And we always talk about what loyalty means, and and that's how guys get selfish. Then they just want to go play, then they just want to get a check, and then they're going to move on and go somewhere else. So, and Dak deserves better than that, in my opinion. I think he is a great man. He's a great guy. He's a great football player. He's all the things you want out of your quarterback. And so I don't know why it's so hard, specifically because you just, if we're fighting over a year or 2 or whatever it is, come on, man. There's a way to do this the right way. There's enough mathematicians over there in the building that they can make this work, and not make this guy feel like, do you really want me here or not? Because too many guys are. It just sign Dak is all I'm saying. Go ahead and give the man his money. He's going to make 37. Go ahead and give him 4 at 37. Or
and here's the deal. Of course, we're not privy to the inside information on any of this. We're not. Man, I would love to be a fly on the wall in Jerry or Steven's office when he's talking on the phone to Todd France, or in the meeting room when they're talking face to face. I have a feeling that probably doesn't really happen anymore. But we don't know what's happening, the little intricacies of the contract negotiation. It seems really dumb to us as outsiders that just talk about it a lot for a living. But, who knows what's happening. I will tell you this, though. I cannot wait when this is said and done. Dak's either signed or he's cut with another team when this is all finished. And the story comes out 3, 4, 5 years later because, somebody's going to have the inside scoop about how all this either did go down, should have gone down, didn't go down, whatever the true Hollywood story behind the true Frisco story behind this contract negotiation process was. I can't wait because it's going to throw somebody under the bus big time. It might be Jerry. It might be Steven. It might be Dak. I don't know. But somebody is the bad guy in this process. And I can't wait to find out who it was because it's going to be a huge story. I don't know if you guys remember. Of course, you remember when Zeke was going through his holdout. All the wild speculation, God, why is Zeke? It's 2 years left on his contract. Why is he holding out? And then Jerry signs him to this, looks like a god-awful contract, $109 million or $102 million over 7 years. God, he's a running back. He was the 4th overall pick. Dude, it's a 4-year, $50 million. That's really all it is. And after 2022, he'll be gone. All right, that's going to be the end of his contract, all said and done. But everybody just speculated wildly about what's going on in the negotiations. Why haven't they come to an agreement yet? Zeke was in Cancun working out with his trainer and stuff while the Cowboys were in camp. I mean, everybody forgets about all of this. But it's a huge story, and I swear the same thing is going to come out when this is all said and done with Dak. And I, for one, cannot wait to hear the inside scoop.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's all I had, fellas. I know we've been going for about 90 minutes now, and I think it's been a great show. Let's let's wrap this thing up, man, and we'll be back at it again next week.
Who's with us next week, George?
Oh yeah, Mario Edwards. Y'all know who Mario Edwards?
I know who Mario Edwards is.
Edwards. So this is the senior Mario Edwards, the defensive back that played with me here at the Dallas Cowboys. But his son is. Where's the son playing now? Is he still with the Bears? Mario,
The Bears.
huh?
Yeah, for the Bears.
Yeah, with the Bears. So
Yeah.
he and I talk a lot, and I bet you didn't know that he was a high school coach out here in Texas now as well. He was at Florida State for many, many years.
I remember he was at Florida State, where he played college ball.
Yeah, he's coaching out there, but now he's at Denton Ryan. Or I believe it's
Yep,
Denton.
Ryan High School. It is. He's at Denton
That's
Ryan.
where
right down the road from us.
That's right. So I'm looking forward to coming on, having him come on. So thank you guys, man. Thank you all the sponsors. Thank you all that are paying attention and listening and continuing to support Teague's Take, man. We love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a great show. Everybody tune in next Tuesday. Hey, do you have another special show going on this weekend, or are you taking the weekend off?
No, sir, man. Take weekend.
All right, so you won't hear from us again. You won't hear, and nobody will hear from us again until next Tuesday, 8 p.m. On Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for the Teague's Take podcast. And don't worry, guys, listeners, viewers, I promise you, Money Matters will be back next week.
And now it's time for America's favorite segment, Money Matters with JT. And now it's time.
Because that's what everybody wants to hear, and we didn't do. We could have done that segment as a Money Matters for all practical purposes, but
yeah, we could have.
We'll be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter with all the Dallas Cowboys, with Mario Edwards, former Dallas Cowboy. He might have some strong opinions about how his kid's playing up there in Chicago on the defensive line. We might have to pick his little football brain about that, but and lots more sports talk, Alabama talk, Cowboys, NFL, SEC. All the good stuff. We appreciate everybody tuning in, everyone that's made this possible. Of course, our sponsors, 3R Sports, 1, ProfoundSites.com, CowboysSI.com, CowboyHouseSports.com, the Maverick Bar, and of course, Repair Resource. Those boys are at repair-resource.com on the interwebs. Thanks again to everybody. We will be back next week. And until then, everybody stay safe. And be good to each other, like we're all good to each other, right? We all try to be good to each other. That's what everybody else should be doing. We'll be right back.